Day 3 of the 10X Growth Con 4 conference in Las Vegas 2020. Wow, I mean, I've been blown away every single day. About how amazing this is. And I would love to know in the comments section below if you've been to the 3, 2, or 1 conferences, what they were like. So please let me know. I mean, were there surprise guests? We had John Travolta and Usher on the event yesterday, two surprise guests that weren't on the ticket. The day prior, there was Dana White from the UFC, president/CEO, I believe, of the UFC. I think there was one more, it escapes my mind right now. But let me know if you attended the prior events, 10X, I guess I better push the button, or events. Let me know if there were guests. But I'm heading down and get some breakfast now, and then I'm gonna be getting ready to roll over there, so. Okay, welcome to the closing. I'm going to wrap up a bunch of ideas and concepts that the speakers shared in day 3 of the 10X Growth Con. Super excited to share this with you. Again, it was over the top, absolutely phenomenal, amazing. Special unannounced guests were Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was actually on the bill. Special unannounced guests were Floyd Mayweather, and the other unannounced guest, let me find out who that was here. I totally should know this. It was absolutely mind-blowing. I'm going to be looking through my book here. Let's see. Floyd Mayweather, Okay, I guess he was the only unannounced guest that day. I'm getting it all confused because it was so mind-blowing, the whole thing was. All right, so let's start off with, let's go here to day 3. Marie Forleo started off day 3, and she's phenomenal. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let's go back here. Day 3 started with Tim Storey. Now, I don't know Tim Storey. He was really energetic, really inspirational. I get the feeling he's in Hollywood, maybe a producer or something in that, area of expertise. But he's talking about believe it, expect it, receive it, become it, and then release or express what wants to come through you into the world. And then that's how miracles happen. That was one of the key takeaways from him. It was super phenomenal. He had a lot of good stuff to say, just really inspirational and motivational about how your next 1, 2, and 3 years are going to be absolutely phenomenal if you do those kind of things, like believe and expect and all those kind of things. He was talking a lot about that. So that was Tim Storey. He opened up day 3. Then let's see what we got here. Then Marie Forleo came on, and I'm a huge fan of Marie Forleo. She's done amazing things and had an amazing inspirational career. And one of the reasons why I like her is, and she talked about this in this episode, is that she doesn't fit herself into one or pigeonhole herself, right? She calls herself a multi-passionate entrepreneur. That's how she describes herself. But she only realized that after she had tried a number of things and felt somewhat like she wasn't really getting what she wanted, was feeling like a little bit of a failure, right? Trying all these things, couldn't really find her place until she kind of created it, right? And the main takeaway I get from her story, where she was working on Wall Street, went to work for magazines in different capacities, on the creative side, more on the business side, wasn't really finding her niche, then went to do some other things, did some dance stuff, right? Was hired by Nike and Reebok to do dance promotions around the country. The main takeaway I get from her is that constantly reassessing, does this feel good for me? Is this right for me? What's the little voice inside of me saying? She talked a lot about the little voice saying, hey Marie, this is not right for you. and then she would do something else, and then the little voice would say, okay, closer, but maybe not right for you still, and then she would do something else. So listening to that little voice, I'm a big fan of the little voice within us. Whether you can hear it or not, there's a little voice inside of us that says, hey, go do this, go try this, do this, you'll have success doing this. Hopefully you can hear your little voice, and as you become more courageous, this is my own experience, as I become more courageous at expressing and doing the things my little voice says, hey, you should do it, I get further and further down the journey, and I know I'm on the path. It's when it feels right within, when the little voice feels right. So that's one thing I really resonated with Marie Forleo. Let me just go through my book here and kind of share some, a lot of them, she talked about it too. A lot of the guests, pretty much every guest said, you got to find something you love and then go do that thing. Every single one of them said that. Super resonates. I'm a big believer in the fact that you can do anything in the world if you have the right marketing and branding package behind it. People are going to freaking buy it. People are going to freaking buy it. So whatever little voice says inside of you, go do this thing, start doing that thing, but then also get really badass with your marketing and branding. And she said that too. She says, as much of an expert as you are in what you're doing, whatever it is, or as much as your top level game in what you're doing, real estate, financial, entertainment, marketing, whatever you do, you have to be equally as expert and brilliant at the marketing and sales and branding of yourself, of your company. So that's what she said. It's like a two-part process. That definitely experienced that on my own journey. When I first started, I thought, okay, I'm really passionate about personal transformation and personal development and spirituality and metaphysics, and that'll get me to where I need to go. But it just doesn't work. And as when I started, I was like 95 or 99% into that arena and writing the book, Boundless Joy, Just Be It, Alchemy of Despair, etc. And then I thought, well, I need to market, because I started hearing this and started feeling this. You have to promote yourself, right? If nobody knows about you, they don't have no opportunity to buy your book or your course or your product or whatever. And so more and more marketing and branding. Now it's flipped. It's like 20% I'm working on the content, but 20% I'm working on products and services, and 80% of my time is spent putting into content. This video is one example of that content. So that's what she talked about. She talks about trust your heart, not your mind. Your mind will mislead you. Your heart will never mislead you. I call the heart a little voice. She talked about clarity coming from engagement. And I'm a huge fan of this idea that you only know something once you experience it. If you just think about it, will it work? Should I do it? I don't know. Weigh the pros and cons. You never really know, right? You know this in your own experience until you actually do it and know, that felt good, that felt bad, I'm not going to do it anymore, I'm going to do it differently, so on and so forth. She's a huge believer in taking the action, doing the thing, getting the feedback, the real feedback, right? The real data, so to speak, the experiential data, and saying, it's not for me, I don't like it, I don't want to do it, whatever. Then you truly know. That happened to me a number of years ago. I've always loved graphic design. I like making things, I like designing things and bringing them into the world, fruition. I thought, well, I'm going to go back to school and get a graphic design degree, or I'm going to test the waters. And I went back and took one entry-level graphic design course, and it was nice, but I kind of looked at the path that was ahead of me and looked at the competition in that space and thought, well, do I really want to be doing that every day after I get out? And I already had a degree, right? I already had worked in the corporate world, the business world for many years, and I thought, well, I'm going to go try this. It wasn't a right fit. It didn't feel good. But you know what? If I would have never done that, I would have not have known that it wasn't right for me, that it wasn't going to be a right path. But now I know, and I am 100% closed the page on that chapter of my life, and I thought, okay, I don't want to do that. But I wouldn't have known had I not gone to take that course. Marie talked a lot about the marketing process. People buy emotionally, they connect emotionally with a product or person or service, and then they put it through the logic system, and then they actually make the buying decision. Then she talked a lot about her book, Everything is Figure Outable, and I'm actually going to put this quote up on my bulletin board at my desk because it's so true, right? I mean, I was talking with another person at this conference, they're thinking of launching a podcast. And I said, launching a podcast was the hardest thing I've ever done in my online business by far. It was so complicated, so many things that you only get one shot at. And if you get that wrong, like forks in the road kind of thing, setting up the infrastructure and the behind the scenes stuff to actually broadcast the podcast to all the podcast players and get it done right so that if there's a change in the future and you want to grow in a different way, you have this thing set up, right? This is happening at the podcast hosting level, and some of the places that provide to share the podcast out, like SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, those kind of places, you get one opportunity to set the thing up. And so it was super complicated, right? But because of research and time and everything is figure outable. And I've told this story before, but on the night before I launched the podcast, I had gone to sleep, and I was like, I had like 25 things to do or 25 to 30 things to do on my list of things yet to do to launch the podcast, cover art, this and that, and all, just a whole bunch of stuff that was sort of done, sort of not done. And I finally got back out of bed and went to the computer and just stayed up from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. and launched the thing, because I was so tired of waiting or delaying and just doing a few things at a time and this and that. And it kind of came down to the wire, and I was just sick of waiting, and I was like, I got to get this done. And so I plowed through all those things, setting up all of the little pieces and parts, and I launched it at 5 a.m. on April Fool's Day. I didn't even know it was April Fool's Day, but that was just the result of I was just tired of waiting and tired of delaying that process. So I just crunched through it. But back to my point, everything is figure outable, especially in our day and age. I mean, everyone Googles everything in any profession. You're going to Google something at some time, and everyone has access to Google. Knowledge is available to everyone now. So I think it's awesome, her statement. She talked a lot about failing, that failure is an event. It's not a characteristic, right? It doesn't define you. It just is an experience, right, that you're having. And that she either wins or learns, but she never loses, right? She never fails. So that was Marie Forleo, super insightful. The next guy that was up on stage is Jon Najarian, and now I haven't heard of him either. Apparently he and his brother Pete Najarian have a show called Follow the Smart Money. That's one of his coin phrases, his catchphrases. They're in the Wall Street game. They sold their company to E-Trade for $750 million a number of years ago. It's some kind of trading company or something. Yeah, $750 million to E-Trade. And so he's got, experience in the Wall Street game, but he was a former Chicago Bears, I want to say linebacker, don't hold me to that, something like that, but obviously athlete. And they developed this algorithm that can, look at all of these. I think he said either 7 million trades a second or a minute or something. It's something crazy. But this algorithm can see all that, and it can capture information, and then you can get a real look at it. Because just looking at all that stuff, it's just a mess, he said. But you have to have these algorithms to do that. And so he's able to go into the market and make successful changes. And his key takeaway is this: follow the smart money. Now, let me break that down in two different ways. One, he follows the smart money on Wall Street. He says when he sees big players or big trades being made in certain sectors that are seemingly coming out of nowhere, he follows that money because he knows those people know something that he doesn't know. And that's why he gets this phrase, follow the smart money. And if you look at it the other way around, follow the smart money in any area of life, right? In business or in marketing or in sales, when you follow the smart money, that means you're doing what the people who are already successful doing, and you're modeling success. I look at it as copying success, right? And model those people and kind of ride on their coattails. And a lot of this stuff is just that. Instead of reinventing the wheel, what are successful people doing, and reverse engineer it for whatever business or wherever you want to go. And I was talking with some friends that I made at this concert, or this event, and we were talking about that. And I'm a big fan of looking at people that are down the road doing exactly what I want to do, and then reverse engineering how they got there, right? What were the vehicles that got them there? What was the content creation strategy that got them there? And then you reverse engineer it and plug yourself and your ideas and your product and service, your passion, your love into that vehicle, and then you drive that vehicle. Now you're going to end up in a different place, in a different way. It's going to feel different and look different, but still you're modeling after them because you're not reinventing the wheel. What worked for them will work for you. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that. He talked about cash flow is king. Now, this is freaking awesome. Throughout the event was also the underlying principle of discipline, which is one of the things that I'm constantly learning more of in implementing in my life. Huge. He said that discipline dictates action. Discipline dictates action. And it's all about the discipline. He talked about getting up in the morning, working out, getting the mindset, getting the endorphins going, having that carry through the day. Discipline dictates action. Yeah, it's just super awesome. Jon Najarian was his name. You can probably Google him and find him. He does have a website, marketrebellion.com. And I don't know what the name of his book is, but his website is marketrebellion.com. If you're into the stock game, I don't play in that arena myself because it's just, you got to know so much. I mean, I just invest broadly into the stock market, and but I'm not a day trader, let's put it that way. But if you're into that, maybe he'd be an interesting guy to look out for. Jon Najarian, Najarian. Okay, then surprise guest. I guess that's the last surprise guest of the event. Floyd Mayweather. No one knew he was coming. Money was raining down from the stage, and it was insane. The crowd was just going insane. I've known a little bit about Floyd Mayweather in the past, and I've seen a little bit of his story. Phenomenal individual. He talked about when he was 3 years old, he would go to the boxing gym. That's how long he's been going to the boxing gym, and he would hit the speed bag, and people would be, enjoying it and like, go hit the speed bag again. And he'd just be a 3-year-old playing around. And then they said, hey, we'll give you some candy if you hit the speed bag. And he was like, okay. And you could see the light bulbs go off. And it almost was like, that's the moment he realized he could get what he wanted by doing what other people wanted, by hitting the speed bag, by boxing, whatever. It was phenomenal. He was kind of like, I want to say like a child prodigy. He was really good at boxing. He went to the Olympics. He started, managing himself, thinking business minded, and he's like being a smart fighter and being a smart businessman. That was kind of what he talked about. He said that no one works harder than him, and that, when you come from the inner city, you have so much more to strive for. When you come from poverty upbringings, you have so much more to strive for. And you know what? I'm a huge believer in that immigrant hustle and that mentality that you're so afraid to go back to where you were that it drives you forward. I think that is super valuable on anyone's journey. And another thing he talked about, he would practice signing his name as a child, and his siblings were making fun of him like, hey, you should be doing your homework, right? And he's like, no, I am doing my homework, right? I'm going to be famous someday. I'm going to be big one day. And of course, look how that played out. But just super, insightful about the business mindset. And also, I've got the will to win. That's what he said. I've got a will to win, and I'm hungry, and I want to be in the game of life to win. Just super awesome, insightful. Then closed out the event, day 3 of the Growth Con with Kevin Hart, and again, crowd blew up. Crowd was going crazy. I mean, everyone loves this guy. I think he's so funny, and he was funny up there even, right? I mean, even though it was a situation where Grant was interviewing him, it was hilarious, insightful and hilarious. I thought it was the perfect blend. By the way, Grant Cardone is an incredible interviewer. I mean, I got the impression that it's kind of like a little bit late night talk show style, Oprah talk show style, if you can imagine, with Grant's personality. But he was very, very awesome questions, just super valuable questions about themselves, their career, how they got where they did, things they've done in their business and their life. Just amazing interviewer. It was just phenomenal, just as a side note there. Okay, let's get into some of the things Kevin Hart said. Then I don't want to forget to show you some of the 10X swag. You've seen this around, but I'm going to show you some of the things they gave out during the event. Okay, so let's see here. He said, I'm heavy. Kevin Hart says, I'm heavy business disguised with personality. So you could tell throughout his whole talk, as funny as he is on stage, based on what he said here, he has just as much knowledge and wisdom in the business world. And that's something I did not know, because I've seen a lot of entertainers, and I'm sure you have too, who are just entertainers, and they have every other people manage their money and their life, and all they do is go up there and entertain. That's all they do. Kevin Hart is not like that. And I kind of get the impression, John Travolta's not like that either. I kind of getting the impression that in the new era, this new world that we're living in, entertainers are much more business savvy. Maybe they've seen what's happened to other entertainers, at least the smart ones and the ones at the top of their game. They're much more savvy. They want to have a hands-on because they're really creators. And Kevin Hart, the underlying theme in his interview was the fact that, hey, I'm a creator and you're a creator. I'm a creator. We're all creators. And I'm creating, but that's a business for me. And he talked a little bit about the fact that a lot of people say, oh, a business is only this, right? If you have an employees, if you sell a product or service or whatever. But he said, hey, my joke is a product, and I'm creating something, I'm creating value that I'm then selling and making profit, and I have a business. So he's really adamant about the fact that you got to think outside the box when what is your business, right? What are you selling? And that anything's a business if someone's willing to pay you money for it, right? So here's what he said. He says, business is a lot of things. It's understanding how to create something and own it and sell it and make money from it. That's a direct quote from him. I'm a big fan of just writing down these snippets. I took notes. I mean, this is my 10X notebook here. And I just filled this thing almost up. I mean, there's like maybe 10, 15 pages in the back that I haven't filled up yet. I'll probably fill that up with some reflections on the event, so to speak, and kind of put more info in there. But I was taking notes like crazy. I love taking notes because it helps me remind myself of what they're saying and helps it like solidify it in my brain. But that's one of the things he said. This is awesome. He said, I'm now a businessman because I love to create. And I think that's what business is. It's creating value for other people to enhance and enrich their lives out of nothing, or out of whatever your gift is, right? Creating value out of 2 different things, 3 different things, making it, selling it. Talked about the entertainment business, how it's, comes up with concepts. And his goal, one of his goals is to make the world laugh. That's a goal for Kevin Hart, right? Everyone has different goals. That's one of his goals. Talked about the Laugh Out Loud Network. That was another way to help. I think it's on, I know I watch him on YouTube. That's where you can find Cold as Balls. And there's another one that's, like a fitness challenge of some sort. I've watched a little bit of that. But that Laugh Out Loud Network, which I think may be predominantly hosted on YouTube, I don't know, is his way of giving up and coming comics a platform to make the world laugh. So it's intertwined with his goal of making the world laugh. He's giving comics an arena to kind of share their message. He talked, this is really interesting. He talked about creating an opportunity for yourself, not waiting for someone to call you, but going out and making them want to call you, right? Going out and doing stuff and creating experiences and value in the world to make people call you. And then you have a lineup of call. Because what happened was at one point in his career, he lost this television gig, this sitcom gig. And his agent said, hey, they're going to call you, just wait. And he got sick of that. And he's like, I'm not waiting anymore. And he went and did a real big tour, and then things just started taking off. But he took initiative. He took matters into his own hands. And I thought that was phenomenal. No one's going to give any of us an opportunity. We have to make that opportunity, create that opportunity by creating in itself, right? So we create our own opportunities. That's a huge takeaway from this one. Talked about being persistent and patient, and stay focused, and be disciplined in what you're doing. Said that getting comfortable is when things fall apart, right? Always be pushing into that uncomfort. And he talked a lot about loving real estate. Of course, Grant Cardone is huge into real estate, and Kevin Hart started investing a lot of his money that he was earning into real estate. And he talked a little bit about the importance of taking some of your money that you make and putting it away to buy other assets that will eventually bring you revenue and income down the road. This is interesting. I really like this. He buys a watch after every thing that he produces, maybe a comedy special, maybe like he talked about the watch he was wearing at the event. during the creation of Cold as Balls, or after the first season when it got picked up to go further down the road, and people were loving it. It had like millions of downloads, or 80 million downloads, something like that. But he bought a watch that represents the time he spent on that project. And the particular watch he was wearing was a stainless steel something. He named the name. I'm not a watch guy myself, but he named the name, and it reminds him of the time that he invested in that project, and that he was doing something that he loved, that it was something that it was spending time worthwhile, as a human being, putting time into that project. And I thought that was really awesome. And then all of his watch collections remind him of each individual project that he worked on. So he does collect watches, and that's how he ties the experience of that project to the watch. I thought that was so awesome and really phenomenal. Made me want to be a watch guy, even though I'm not a watch guy. Yeah, Kevin Hart. It's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of day 3. I know this video went really long. Let me just go show you these and we'll wrap it up. 10x flags were handed out, of course. You got to have that. That was handed out on Saturday. Then we had 10x towels, right? 10x towels in play. That was handed out on Saturday. Day 1, they were handing out GrowthCon wire bound. I have not opened this yet. I brought my own book, like I said, but a lot of people wrote their notes in this book, these little wire bound books. That's it. That's all the swag, and of course the little wristbands. I don't have mine with me at the moment, but wristbands were handed out. So yeah, super awesome. I couldn't recommend anyone going to this more. It was just phenomenal, as we wrap up day 3. If you haven't watched the prior videos, day 0, 1, and 2, you can check them out. I'll put links below this video. But in each of those videos, I share kind of a breakdown of what each presenter talked about and tried to share some nuggets with you so that you'll be helped on your journey. You can check those videos out in the links below in the description. So again, I want to thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That would be super awesome. And consider subscribing to the channel. I am way inspired, and I've got all sorts of new ideas to share valuable content with you to help you get more of what you want in your business and your life. Talking about the inner and the outer game, right? Like I said, when my journey first started, I was all pretty much about the inner game. And then that's valuable and whatnot, but I'll tell you, more and more as I go on in my own journey here, and I'm talking more business strategy and marketing strategy and branding, because I really think those blending of those two and systems and processes are what's going to make success. And so we really can't just do the inner work for 2 reasons. One, you get bored, and that gets old really fast unless you're getting your hands in the clay and actually getting out and actually making products and services and tweaking them and studying the marketing, studying the branding, the business strategies and stuff like that. Where do you put your content? How much content do you make? What kind of content should you make? What do people need? How do they need to make money in the world? You want to get your hands in the clay just like I do. So 1, you get really bored, and 2, that will only take you so far, because the inner work is necessary. I view it as being the foundation, but the outer work, the structures in your business. Where are you on your platforms? What type of products are you creating? What does your portfolio of products look like? Is it in full alignment with who you are and what you want to see in the world, right? Or is it out of alignment? Those are the things that I think, that's the fruition. When it kind of comes to fruition, the cycle ends there. Then of course the inner work supports all that. And to that point, one of the reasons that I like Grant Cardone and that I follow him and I wanted to come here is I've seen a lot of people in the online space, and I've seen their product portfolio and their empire, so to speak. I've never seen anyone's empire that is more in alignment with who they are and more just streamlined than Grant Cardone's. And so I'm looking at that to model that. And again, like I said, reverse engineering from what I see successful people do. I'm going to copy that success. That's the model that I'm seeing. And like I said, I look at all the people in the online space, and I'm sure you do too. If not, I would recommend doing that. People that are further down the road in what you're doing. Tony Robbins talks a lot about this too, copying success. That's really the only way to make it in the world. I mean, if you're just trying to reinvent the wheel, it's slugging it out, right? I mean, if we don't look down the road and find someone to copy, we're really, really making it a lot more difficult on ourselves. But back to this point, looking at Grant Cardone's portfolio companies and how each of them is in harmony with who he is and what he loves and what he's passionate about. Let's take, for example, Cardone Capital, his real estate company. He's passionate about real estate. He loves it. Let's take, for example, his sales company, whether you're talking about Cardone U or maybe Cardone Advertising or the Mentors Program or any of the things that he's doing in that arena. He's passionate about sales and he's passionate about helping people market themselves. Cardone Ventures is where he's going out and doing business opportunities with people. Just all of them, right? I mean, there's just all of his businesses are a little offshoot of one of his loves or his passions. So I think it's phenomenal. And I'm always looking at that and saying, gosh, how did he make that? What is he in reverse engineering that and getting to the ideas? So that's one of the reasons that I like Grant Cardone, in addition to the sales and marketing knowledge and trainings and stuff like that. So anyway, I hope this video finds you well. I know it's quite a bit longer than the rest, but I wanted to share this with you. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it. Consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this to help you with the inner and the outer game, get more of what you want in business and life. Lots of new things coming. Thanks so much. Until next time, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.